You're listening to Breaking Up with Bondage, the podcast with Shaquinia Monique. Hello, hello, hello. Today is Saturday, May 21st, 2022. And listen, you are tuned in to Breaking Up with Bondage, the podcast with yours truly, Shaquinia Monique. Listen, I am so excited about today's episode. We know that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I know y'all didn't think I was going to let that slide on by. Absolutely not. And so I'm very excited for this episode. I'm very excited to talk about mental health and why mental health matters. I'm very excited for this guest that I have today. Listen, y'all know I get all excited about my guest. Yes, I do. And this one is so special today. Listen, she get on my last nerves most of the time because she been my baby for so long. But I adore her, and we are graced with her presence today. Please understand, okay, that we are graced to have a doctor with us today to talk about mental health and why mental health matters. And so listen, listeners, I need you to welcome with me my sister, my Sands. Listen, the one who got me through as we listen, traverse that thing with Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Dr. Mary Ann Broner. Dr. Broner, say hello to the peoples.
Well, hello, everybody.
I am so happy to have you on here with me, Dr. Broner.
I'm
Listen, it
happy to
has
be
been
here.
amazing to watch you just go from where we started when we first met and when we were online and just going through our process to where you are now. You shine, Sans. You
Aw.
absolutely shine. And so it is amazing to look at you now, to look at your smile, to see your eyes light up. I am just a so excited and happy and blessed and honored to be able to call you my sister, to be able to pick up the phone and call you whenever I want, and to know that every time I've ever needed you, you've been there for me. And I'm so grateful for that. So thank you for coming to be on the show.
You are absolutely welcome. And did I have a choice?
Absolutely not. So there's that. So before we get into the topic, why don't you? I want you to please. So my friends just graduated with her PhD. I want you to tell them what your PhD is in. I want you to tell them what you did to get this PhD. I just want you to plug that thing a little bit. Come on here and let the people know.
Well, my PhD is in business management with a specialization in leadership and organizational change. However, I just earned my behavioral and mental health coaching certification. So that is my newest venture that I completed. So, yeah.
Sam, every time I turn around, you're doing something else. I can't deal with you. Sam, you're like a career student. I thought I was a career student, but you're like a career student, Sam. I can't keep up with you, okay? Bachelor's degree, master's degree, certifications from Harvard. I mean, I just need you to sit it on down, okay? You're making me look bad, sis, okay? What you doing out here?
I
But
mean,
so listen, listen, we are blessed. We are so blessed to have you on here with us today. And so this is the way that it goes. First thing that we do is the affirmation of the week. And the affirmation of the week is always a mic toss, okay? And so it's you and me. So I toss the mic to you. We do an I am affirmation every week to encourage the people and to give them something to just repeat over and over and over every day to help themselves make it through their week. And so I have the easy part. I just get to say, I am. And then I toss it over to you, and you give me the rest of the affirmation. And then I bring it back and make it relevant for the people. So if you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and get ready for that mic toss. You ready?
okay, I'm ready.
All right. So here we go. I am.
I am blessed for everything I have. Period.
Oh, that's a good one. I am blessed for everything that I have. Come on, you guys already know where I'm going with this one. I am blessed for everything that I have. Listen, because see, you've been complaining about some things. You've been worried about what you do not have. But we're
Mm.
telling you to stand up and look in the mirror and say, I am blessed for everything that I have. See, you mad that you don't have the BMW, but listen, that Ford that's sitting outside in your driveway,
Come
somebody don't even
on.
have that. So look up and say, I am blessed for everything that I have. You upset that you don't have the house out on the hills, but somebody is living underneath the viaduct. So you better understand and say, I am blessed for everything that I have. Listen, you was complaining about that headache, but it's somebody right now sitting in a chemo chair at the hospital.
Mm.
You better understand and be blessed for the help that you have. Say, I am blessed for everything that I have. Listen, stand up. I want you to plant your feet, put your head up, breathe a deep breath, look in that mirror and say, I am blessed for everything that I have. Because somebody don't have no money at all. Somebody don't
Mm.
have a house at all. Somebody is laid up in the hospital bed and don't know if they're ever going to make it back home. Listen, somebody died last week. Somebody didn't make it through this morning. You better be blessed for everything that you have. Listen, your God will and can and shall supply all of your needs. But until he supplies the needs that you're still asking for, I need you to thank him and say, God, I'm blessed for everything that I have. I'm blessed for the small things. I'm blessed for the little things. I'm blessed for the minuscule things. I'm blessed for the things that I'm waiting on to grow. I'm blessed for the things that I need you to put your hand on. I'm blessed for everything that I have. Listen to me. God is not going to give you more until you show him that you're thankful for the things that he's already put inside of your stewardship. Listen, get in that mirror. Come on here. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and say, I am blessed for everything that I have. Come on here, Sands. You
That
almost got
was
me stirred up. I felt
that
that
was an
thing in my
entire
belly.
word. Where's the
Woo, that was
collection
a whole
plate?
word.
The collect
Listen,
the,
come
the
on.
doors of the church are now open. Okay.
Come on, open the doors of the church. Pass the plate. You started the thing with that here saying, I am blessed for everything that I have. Remember that thing. I want you to, you might have to say that affirmation for 2 weeks. I might bring that one back next week. Be blessed for
Absolutely.
everything that you have. Listen, that we needed to hear that one, since that was good right there. And so you come on, you guys know how this works. So now this week, I already said we're talking about mental health. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we know that in the black community, there's such a stigma on mental health. In the black community, you know, our people tell us, oh, go pray. Or our people tell us, ain't nothing wrong with you. Or our people tell us all of these other things, and we self-medicate. We use alcohol. We use drugs. We don't get any of the care that we need. We don't understand what self-care is. We don't understand what self-care means. And we think that therapy is like death. It's like somebody holding a gun to your head if
Hmm.
at the very mere suggestion of therapy. But let me be the first to tell you, if no one has said it before, that you can have Jesus and a therapist. Come on here. You can listen to your
That's a
apostle
teacher.
and have a therapist in your life. Come on here. You can read your Bible and have somebody to talk to and walk you through the things and the travails of your life. It is okay to have both. Who do you think gave them the wisdom anyway? Who do
Come
you
on.
think gave them the calling anyway? Who do you think put that thing on them to help you anyway? So let us be the first to tell you, if no one gave you the unction before, you can have Jesus and your therapist. And so today we're going to talk about why mental health is so important. Sans a month or two ago, you posted a powerful testimony, and it was a testimony that I didn't even know. I had gotten, my spirit will lead me and tell me a few things, but I've never pushed you really. And since you didn't come to me, I kind of left it alone. But you posted a testimony that was so powerful, that so many people need to hear, because as black educated women, right,
Hmm.
as black mothers, as black professionals, we have this stigma and this understanding that you just barrel through everything, and we never really take the time to stop and find out what it is that we need, or why it is that we're feeling a way, or why we're overwhelmed, or why it just seems like, you know what, I'm done. I can't do it. This is too much for me. And there are reasons why we feel these things. And when I saw your testimony, I said, oh my God, I didn't even know, as and one of your closest friends, that you were going through as much as you were going through, to the extent and the intensity that you were. So can you
Mhm.
just begin to share some of that testimony here, some of your mental health story with us?
Oh, wow. As I stated on my social media post, I really started noticing signs that something was a little bit off around 2015. Around that time, I was in the middle of my doctoral program. I had just started my own consulting business. And then on top of that, I am a caregiver to my father. I am an only child. I am a millennial, and I made the decision to sacrifice career for family and for duty. And
Mm,
I
mm,
moved my dad
mhm.
in with me to be his sole caregiver. However, in July of 2015, my father was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer. So,
Wow.
being the only child and the only person that's truly in charge of his care, and then trying to care for myself as well, that became a bit much, and not really having an outlet to truly express how I was feeling, or even knowing where to get assistance from. It was like, he had the surgery, he's now in your care, take care of him. You have to give him his injections. And without all of my degrees, none of them is in nursing. I'm no CNA. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm none of that. Have a PhD, but I'm not an MD. So I'm like,
Right, right.
Lord, I don't know what to do. So I became so engulfed in his care that I started to neglect myself. And it was just little things I started to notice about me. I became very short and patient. Um, I became withdrawn, couldn't really focus. If you know, I actually started my PhD in 2011, so it took me a decade, y'all, to
Right, right.
to finish this degree. And it
But
just
you finished.
I
But
finished
you
though.
finished.
That's
That's
what
come on
counts.
here. Yes.
Finished. So, speeding up to 2018, 2016, let me back up. Still dealing with my dad and his recovery with cancer, and I not having an outlet, not really feeling comfortable speaking to family and friends, especially family, because I felt like they didn't understand, because most of my family was saying, like, well, you're his daughter, this is your duty, so you just deal with it. So I'm like, okay. And just keeping all of those emotions and feelings bottled inside, it came to a head one day. And I actually remember it was August 17th, 2016. I just went in the bathroom and I shaved my head bald. However, wearing the mask that we as Black women wear so often, and unfortunately
Come
so
on, talk
well,
about it. Yes.
nobody really knew. They were like, oh, she's going through a little change. She changed it up, because I've always had long, natural hair, and then just to show up and I'm looking like a brown skinned Mr. Clean. Like, what's going on? But no one really sought to ask, are you
Now
mentally
I was
okay?
I'm so glad you go there. Let me cut you for 1 second. So I remember, obviously, when you cut your hair. We all remember when you cut your hair. And I mean, you cut it all off. You were clearly Mr. Clean, Mrs. Clean, whatever we want to call that thing. You rocked it though. You clearly rocked it, but it was very much a shocker, because our hair has always been like this thing. Our hair is our happy. It's always been our
Mm-hmm.
happy, right? And so I remember distinctly going, something in the milk's not clean here, because she has just done this drastic thing. She didn't say a word. I don't know what's going on. And I remember saying, do I approach this, or do I leave this? And I remember not knowing as your sans, as your sister, as your friend, what to do, because I know you to be guarded at times. I know you can be
Mhm.
reserved with certain things, and I know that when you're ready, as it pertains to our relationship, me and you'll come to me, right? And
Mhm.
so I said, and I didn't know what to do. And I didn't want to, it's like one of those things where you don't know what to say and you don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to further offend or send you over a cliff. And so I remember not saying anything. I remember telling you were beautiful and doing like, making sure I said all of those things. But I remember not broaching it further because I was afraid. So, from that perspective, and now in hindsight, tell me, was that the right move, or what is there a wrong or right move? What would you have suggested I do, or anybody for that matter?
I don't think there is a right or wrong answer for anybody to handle that type of situation, because even though cutting my my hair all the way off was clearly a drastic cry for help, internally I still wasn't ready to accept help. Like I was almost still kind of in denial. Like I understand and I acknowledge that something is off, but I'm really not ready to do the work and deal with what exactly is bothering me. So,
Yeah, yeah,
um, I'm going to my physical my PCP, my my doctor, and I'm telling her that something is off, and she's like, well, we'll just monitor it, and we'll keep an eye. And I'm like, okay. So fast forwarding, it's now 2018. I had some ups and downs in between, 2016 and 2018, but around 2018, I'm like, okay, my father health is really not getting any better. By the way, my father is in remission. He has been in remission since 2015, and
come
I am
on, God
so
is
thankful
faithful.
for God
God is
and His
faithful. Yes.
healing hand on my father's life. But it was other physical ailments he started to experience, not as a result to the cancer, but just, I guess, as an aging senior. So I'm like, oh Lord, here's another roadblock. Here's something else I have to deal with on my own. And it got to a point where I'm for a yearly physical. And when you go to your physical, someone may do a screening and they ask those basic questions. Us as females, when was your last cycle, and all of these other different type of questions. But this particular day, the nurse asked me, are you suicidal, or have you thought about hurting someone else? And in that moment, I don't know what broke in me or what prompted me to be completely honest. And I just broke down in the doctor's office. And I'm like, yes, I have.
Wow.
And I'm not
Oh,
okay.
sands. Who sands?
Don't do that.
And see, wait, no, but here's the thing. Oh, Jesus. Here's the thing, though. Because when you hear,
Hmm.
right, somebody that you love and are close to, and you understand that they were struggling, and so many people are on the other side of this story, and they didn't know that it was a struggle until it was too late. And that's why this conversation is so important. Because you wouldn't have been able to pay me to believe that you could have ever answered yes to that question. Overwhelmed? Yes. Frustrated? Yes. Going through? Absolutely. I put myself in therapy for all of those reasons, right? But you wouldn't have paid me to believe that you could have answered yes to that question. And so we have to be very careful to understand that we never know what people are going
That's true.
through.
Hmm.
We never know how heavy the burden is for our people. And we need to pay even more attention to how heavy the burden is that we're carrying ourselves.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't even recognize it for what it is until you just said, I don't even know. It just, in that moment, that was the moment for me. And who knows, had she not asked that question, who knows? Because life didn't stop happening for you. I remember life kept happening. Stuff
Hmm.
kept happening, right? But just to hear you say it
Yeah.
as a person who loves you as much as I do, right? That just did something in me. And so, people, I need you to pay attention. Pay attention to your people because they're not okay. They are not okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sam.
No, you fine. So, um, once she went and actually told my PCP, the results of my mental health screening, she came in. She sent me over to a psychoanalyst and a psychotherapist. They did some more tests, and I went back to my primary care physician, and she said, "Well, we are diagnosing you with dysthymia," and I'm like, what is that? You using these big words. What is that? So she said basically what that is persistent depressive disorder. It is basically when you are in a consistent and persistent state of depression, and it can show up in the form of low self-esteem. It can show up as it can show up and inadequacy, just always feeling inadequate, or a chronic imposter syndrome. Like all of these things can
Wow.
lead to
Wow.
dysthymia. And I'm like, when she started really explaining to it, I'm like, that is me. This is exactly how I've been feeling for so many years. So she was like, we're going to prescribe you. I'm going to write you a referral to go to a therapist, and we're going to prescribe you a few medications for you to take. And I'm like, bet. Went to the psychologist that she referred to me. However, the person was not black. And our interaction was okay, but really didn't understand where I was coming from. And also, just
Yeah.
me being the smart
Yeah.
aleck I am, thinking that, well, I know more than you, so you can't really tell me,
Yeah.
how to fix me, but I'm the one that really needs to be fixed. So, once again, not really being truly open to the process and ready for that. Um, so I'm taking the antidepressant and the anti-anxiety medication. And one day I'm just laying in the bed, and I notice that my tongue is going numb. And I'm like, what is this? And
What?
now I'm scratching my face. And since I'm allergic to the air. So
You're allergic to the air.
I am allergic to everything. So I'm scratching my face. And then I look at my hands, and I can't describe what was just popping up out of my skin. And I'm like, oh crap, I need to go to the ER. So I I didn't even tell my father. I believe he was asleep at the time. And I just drove myself to the nearest ER, and I said, my physician has prescribed me these antidepressive drugs, and I'm having an allergic reaction. By the time the ER doctor came to me, I literally broke out from the crown of my head to the soles of my feet. I had webs and sores everywhere. And by the time my family arrived, my uncle and my aunt, they were looking at me like, "What happened to your face?" Cuz it literally looked like, I don't know if you can just imagine you walking into a beehive and every single last bee just stung you. That's how I was looking. And I'm
Is
like,
that the time that I came up to the hospital? But you
"Yep,
had gotten better. They had gotten you
yeah,
together.
I had
Okay, I
gotten back because
remember
I,
this.
I can't even tell you
I
how
remember
much
this.
medication they shot me with, like just to try to bring it down. And the process of healing from that, just from a physical standpoint, not even emotionally and
Wow.
mentally, but just
Wow. Yeah.
physically, like
Yeah.
my skin literally peeled off. That is the worst pain. I don't even have any enemies to my knowledge, but I wouldn't wish that on nobody. You literally could just pick up skin and it's
Oh
just
my
coming
goodness.
off. And
Oh,
that's like
wow.
your head, your face, your feet, just everything. And I'm like, okay, but I didn't go anywhere, didn't tell anybody. And once again, just suffering in silence because I felt that nobody could help me. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
stopped going to therapy. 2019 rolls around. I'm in a situationship with a guy, and it a situationship I should have never been in from the beginning. And
Factual, but we'll save that for another show.
and that ended in December of 2019, and it was like, wow, this is a man that I met at the age of 22. So he has been in and out of my life, in and out of situationships with this man for over 10 years. And it's like in my mind, I'm believing every word he said. Then to find out that at the end of all of this, you still didn't keep your word and you still didn't choose me. So that
Yes.
sent
Yeah.
me over the edge. And I'm
That was the
like,
spiral. Hmm.
what's wrong with me? It must
Mm.
be something wrong with me. And sometimes we as women, we eternalize stuff that is not our junk. We will
Talk
sit up
about it.
here and say, well, maybe I'm not pretty enough. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I'm not thin enough. Maybe I'm not tall enough. All of these things. And I'm like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. So I ended it with him. And I specifically remember lying on my bedroom floor, prostrate, tears in my eyes. And I just prayed and I said, God, I know I have made plenty mistakes and I repent of those mistakes. But if you raise me up from this floor and you make me whole, I promise you that I will use my life and I will use my testimony to help someone else. And
Come
I'm
on
like,
here.
I need you to direct me to the therapist you have for me that will help me get to where you are truly calling me to be. And literally, I got up, I wiped my face, and I'm on my phone and I'm on psychology today. One of my degrees is in
Hmm.
psychology. So I'm
Okay.
familiar with, organizations like APA, American Psychological Association, which I am a member of and have been a member for,
Come
since
on,
I
toot
was
it. Come
an
on, toot it,
undergrad.
girl.
So I'm going on there and I just typed in my zip code and was like therapist near me. And this woman, this beautiful black woman popped up and I'm like, oh, she got all these credentials and I'm going to email her. And in that email, I just laid out my heart and I'm like, I don't even know if you accept my insurance, but this is what I'm going through. I don't know if you're accepting new clients, but if you are, please help me. And literally within an hour, I received a phone call from her. And she
Come on,
was like,
God.
we're going to work together. And I truly feel that you are going to be somebody and you're going to make it. And I didn't know at the time that she was also a Christian therapist. So I'm like,
Come
thank
on,
you, God,
God.
for leading me to who you had for me to get me over this hump. So I started out with her in that very first counseling session. I just broke down and she used this analogy for me. She was like, you are carrying too much stuff. She was like, you are literally like Erica Badu in that song. You are literally a bag lady. And you are trying to run through an airport with all of these bags, with this raggedy carry on that with wheels that don't work, and you really about to miss your flight. And she said, and my job is to help you get rid of some of that and to even help you get new luggage. So you cannot
I
just be
love
on
it.
that flight, but you're going to be in
Yes.
first class and you are going to get
Yes.
to your
I
destination.
love it. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, okay. And like, I want to say the first month, because I started out going to her once a week. And um I'm always sobbing and crying like, oh Jesus. But it was so refreshing because some of the things that were so impacted and so suppressed that I didn't even know still affected me, we brought that out to surface. And I'm like, okay,
Mm.
so it's very important to address some of your past, not even some, but all of your past,
Right.
everything that is holding you back, everything that is keeping you weighed down, everything that is telling you or giving you that negative messaging that sometimes we can have in our head, saying that you are not good enough, saying that you are not pretty enough. It is so important to have those
Yes.
affirmations so you can say,
Yes.
and you can not only just say it, but you can receive it within your heart that I am
That's
truly
it.
blessed for
That's
everything that
it.
I have, and to actually see it. And like you said, my car choice right now is a BMW X4. I ain't got that. I got a 2015 Nissan Altima that's breaking down, but I sure do treat it like it's that X4. I be at the car
That
wash
part.
every week. I be cleaning
That
it
part.
because when you are faithful over a little, he will bless you with much. So,
Come on here.
so, um, to this day, I am still seeing that same therapist. I have been going faithfully once a week. And now some of our discussions are not as heavy as they were, a year and a half ago. Sometimes it's really a check in. But me and my therapist have developed such a great relationship. Sometimes she'll just call me out the blue and be like, the Lord put me on your heart today. And I know this ain't our regular session day, and I'm not even going to charge your insurance. Let's have a conversation. And sometimes I'd be like, oh my goodness, I needed that conversation, but I didn't know if you wanted to I could talk to you
That's
today.
amazing. Oh,
So
that's
that is
amazing.
the type of relationship I have with my therapist. And even she is the one that encouraged me to get my certification in behavioral and mental health coaching. Matter of fact, she's the one that wrote my letter of recommendation for a scholarship to even
Come
get in the
on.
program that I had a full
Yes.
ride and didn't have to pay for a thing.
Come
So
on.
so, just now being on the other side of, being mentally healthy and being mentally strong, no longer taking mental antidepressants and anti anxiety medication. And I can truly say that with growing my faith, and not only just my faith but my relationship with Christ, and doing it on my level, because sometimes
That's it.
we can get in a church, especially in the predominantly black church, they'll tell you you're not praying strong hard enough. What's your relationship looking like? What's your prayer life? You must not be doing
Come on,
X,
talk
Y, and
about
Z.
it.
And that's not necessarily the case, because so
Right.
many times subconsciously we are in fight mode, we are in survival mode, that we can't even receive the love, the unconditional
That's
love
it.
that God is
Mm-hmm.
trying to give to us. And He's like, I'm here, but we're like, I have all this stuff that I can't even receive the love from God. So just working through my stuff and now seeing the 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 fruits of my labor and going to therapy, and my therapist was my main cheerleader with helping me finish my dissertation and actually graduating, magna cum laude, by the way, y'all.
Come on,
So
Magnum Cum Laude.
with my
What?
PhD and helping me with this certification. And, all I can say is I am truly thankful. And I'm just, I can't explain the peace that I feel now, because sometimes you grow up in church and you be hearing these like cliches, like God to give you peace that surpasses all understanding, but you really don't understand it until you've actually been through the fire, when you
That's
have
it.
been burned, when you have been in the
That's it.
furnace but you haven't been burned, when you have been
That's
out of
it.
your mind, when you have been sitting there with some pills or some alcohol or a gun or what have not, and you like, I
Come
don't
on
want to live
here.
anymore. And you
Come on
say,
here.
now I'm on the other side of it and I have joy and I have peace. And I'm like, Lord, is this what all of this was about? And, when I was completing my certification, one of the professors was saying that every single person has a story. Every person's story is unique to them because God designed you to go through that story specifically because there is somebody out there that is going through
Come
the
on, faith.
same exact thing.
Come
So
on.
God is
Mm-hmm.
preparing you for that moment so you
That's
can
it.
be a testimony for that person and say,
Come
I'm not
on.
I'm not looking at you. I am you. And not only
That's it.
I'm you, I was you. I was where you at, but I am also a walking testimony of God's deliverance.
Woo! Yes,
So
ma'am.
that's
Bring that offering plate back. What that offering plate? Bring that offering plate back out. Come on here, because that's what I preach and teach all the time. Everything that you went through, as sucky as it was, as hard as it was never about you. It had
mm,
nothing to do with you. In as much as it was about you, it has nothing to do with you. It's about the people that are coming behind you. It's about the women that are coming that are going to have the exact same story that now you can say, baby, I am you. Listen, give me your hand and let me walk you out of this wilderness. Come on, I can't leave you behind because somebody didn't leave me behind. So come on down out of this tree. Get on out of this bush. Come on out from underneath this dirt, baby. You got to come on out of here because I understand how you feel and I can't leave you in here. You got to come on out. And listen, I'm so glad that you went to the church, and we're going to take a break in a second, but we're going to talk about, that's what I want to talk about next. The black church specifically, and the stigmas that we all grew up with, right? This resistance, this idea that you can't do both, that if you have Jesus, that's all you need. And Jesus is what we need. Nobody is negating the fact that Jesus is what we need, that he is the end all and the be all. We do know that. However, Jesus gave us wisdom. Okay.
yeah.
He said, in all thine getting, get understanding. Okay. He told us to be students of wisdom. Okay. And so he
Mhm.
would never tell you to sit there and be in a black hole and have somebody offering you an olive branch and you pass it by and say, no, I'm just going to sit right here. And no, 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 no. That doesn't make sense. That's not wisdom. And so we're going to talk about that when we come back. We're gonna take a break for a minute. Let our sponsors pay a couple of these here bills, but we want to talk about that when we come back. What we can do and what's going on in our black churches, because we're losing our children, we're losing our mothers, we're losing listen, we're losing our pastors
Yeah.
to this overwhelming feeling of stress. We're losing our pastors because they're overwhelmed and they don't even understand. They're overworked and they're
Mm.
overwhelmed and they're carrying so much, and they don't understand that they need therapy, that they have mental health issues, that they can get the help that they need. Why? Because somebody taught them that that's not what you do. And
Yeah.
so give us a minute and we'll be right back, and we're going to talk about it. We'll be back. Did you know that May was Mental Health Awareness Month? Yes, this month is all about putting you first, understanding what you need, and getting yourself to your best version of who you are. So for the next 30 days, you can book a free 30-minute session with your certified life coach, Shaquinia Monique. Go to smoniquenelson.com/breakout and fill out the coaching assessment form right now to book your free, that's right, free 30-minute session. Do it now. Don't delay. We are back with Dr. Mary Ann Broner, and we've been dealing with the topic mental health matters. Listen, that first segment was absolutely amazing. Dr. Broner shared her mental health testimony, and how God really just brought her through a very trying time, and the steps that she took to get from a dark place back into a place of light and wholeness and wellness. And so these stories are very paramount to our society today, because with so much going on with COVID and the headlines and just all of this foolishness going on, so many people are overwrought and overwhelmed and dealing with so much with depression and anxiety and social anxiety and just all of these things. Like, listen, she gave us a term I never heard before. I can't pronounce it. Never heard of this before. But we have people that are suffering from these things. I remember before my grandmother died, my grandmother was her health was failing, everything was going on. I was her caretaker, much like my Sans was just describing, and taking care of her father. My daughter had some very, very serious challenges, mental health challenges as they were. My son, his behavior was going haywire. I had all of this stuff. I had relationship issues. All this crazy stuff was going on, and I just felt like I was going to lose it. And I put myself in therapy. I was like, probably need to go back therapy. I hadn't been since I was a young girl, and I put myself in therapy because I felt like I was losing my mind. I couldn't get a handle on anything. One thing that struck me in Dr. Broner's story was that it's so hard in the beginning because you got to figure out the right mix, right? She made her declaration to the nurse. They caught it right away. They sent her. They said, "We're going to give you these meds. We're going to do this," and the meds weren't the right mix. And so then it's like, why did I even do this now? Because I tried to get help. Now this is way worse than where I even started. And many people start the process and they stop because of these things. They start the process and they stop. And Dr. Broner said the same thing. Like, look, I was done. Like, that was it. With me, they talked to me for maybe 30 minutes, and they realized that because my mother suffers from bipolarism, the lady talked to me for 30 minutes and she says, "I'm diagnosing you with bipolar." I said, "This makes no sense to me. I don't exhibit any of the characteristics or any of the traits of bipolar. But because my mother is bipolar, you decided that I was bipolar." And I sat there, listen, I let them give me the meds. I took the antidepressants, I took the anti-anxiety meds because I knew that I needed something, and I was crying out for help. But the bipolar thing never sat with me. That just never made any sense. I knew I was depressed. I knew that I was suffering from some anxiety issues. But when you can Google, you can clearly Google on your own. And I'm like, I don't do any of these things. None of these things resonate with me. And it didn't make any sense. And after a while, more things began to happen that just didn't make sense. And I just quit. I quit. But I needed to be there because it was really, really a lot going on. And I was like, "Oh, I'm done with this." And then it took me going through a whole issue at my job. And I thought I was going to lose my mind. And I went to a different place, just like my fan said. And I got to a different. She was really a nurse practitioner. That was like a practicing therapist because she was also prescribing me medicine at the time. And that was where I was able to like figure it all out. And we had to switch a couple different meds, and I took my time to figure it all out. And she changed the diagnosis. "You're not bipolar. This is not your problem." I'm like, I figured that. But we had to work through some things, and eventually I was able to phase, just like my sense. I phased off of the medicine, no longer taking anything. But that year, it was what I needed. And there is no shame in doing what you need in those
Mm.
moments. And so before we go on to talk, we have to have our mindfulness moment. I'm big on the mindfulness. I'm big on the affirmations. I'm big on the breathing. And so this week we want to do just a little self care activity. And so I've already taught you how to breathe. Right? We've done our box breathing where you breathe in for 4, you hold it for 4, you exhale out of your mouth for 4, and then you just rest and relax for 4. You guys are going to hear me say that probably almost every single week because breathing is huge. Breathing teaches you how to become one with yourself, how to listen to yourself, to your body, how to calm your heart, how to calm your mind and your thoughts. And so with this activity, you do your breathing first. Do your breathing and calm yourself, right? And be still and just relax and be very aware of your environment. Be very aware of where you are. Quiet everything, right? Just be still and just breathe. And then I want you to have a little notebook. Get a notebook, get a piece of paper, a pencil, just have something in front of you. Because this exercise deals with your senses, your five senses. And so on this notebook, I want you to make five little columns. And at the top of the columns, I want you to write, right now I can see at this column. And then right now I can hear. And it don't have to be side by side. You can, they can go down the page. Right now I can smell. Right now I can feel. Right now I can taste. And leave some space between each one. And then I want you to be still in that moment while you're breathing. I want you to write down five things that you can see, five things that you can hear, five things that you can taste, five things that you can smell, five things that you can feel. And you have to be still for this. You have to literally become one with your environment, literally become one with yourself. Get still and listen, because you have to listen. Because right now I can hear a car. I can hear the dog barking. I can hear the sound of the atmosphere in my for my wherever my sands is. I can like hear her white noise sound, right? If you be quiet, you'll realize that there's so much more going on around you than you give yourself credit for. You miss so much in the moment. And so take a moment and become mindful of everything going on in your environment. It pulls you into yourself. When you're having a moment of anxiety, a mindfulness exercise is one of the best things that you can do. When you feel yourself riling up, when you feel your anxiety riling up, when you feel your stress riling up, when you feel like you're ready to cuss somebody out, take a moment, right? After you write those five things, I want you to go back and then listen again and see if you hear or see or smell or feel something different. And if you do, write it down. Spend 5 minutes with yourself, just five, and continue to breathe while you're doing this activity. Continue to write down what you see and feel and hear and taste. Take a moment and just keep breathing. This is just 5 minutes for self care, 5 minutes to be mindful. You will be surprised what taking 5 minutes out of your day to have self care and to be mindful of yourself and your breathing and your surroundings will do for your mood, for your attitude, for yourself. So be mindful always of who you are, of whose you are, of where you are, and of what you feel. If you're feeling anxious about a thing, identify that, right? Be still and say, why am I feeling anxious? What about this is making me feel? Write it down. Right now, I feel this. And you'd be by identifying what you feel in that moment, now you've taken away its power against you and you can move forward in your day. And that's our mindfulness moment for today. Listen, this takes practice. Give it some time. Keep breathing. Work on it week to week to week. You just add all of these things up. Okay. And so now we get back to Dr. Broner. Dr. Broner, again, we're so glad that you're here. And so we were segueing over into mental health in the Black church and
Hmm.
the stigma that we grew up with there, that you can't have Jesus and your therapist. Right.
Hmm.
And so I would love for you to touch on that. What do you think some of these negative stigmas are? How do you think we can get rid of some of these negative stigmas? Just talk to me about mental health and the Black church because it's a huge thing.
It is. Um, I think a lot of it has to do with culture. And when we hear of culture, some of us, associate culture with ethnicity or, with race, and that's not necessarily the case. Culture can
Absolutely.
be your norms, your beliefs, your environment in which you grow up in. And
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
many of us being, African American and growing up in a predominantly black church, um, many of the pastors I know, the pastor of the church that I grew up in, really wasn't educated, didn't have a college degree. And then when you
Okay.
go back a few generations from that, neither of them were college educated. So they didn't, from I guess you could say, from an academic standpoint, they didn't have
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the correct training on how to deal with mental health in the church. I guess they didn't have the training in pastoral care or in pastoral counseling. So
Okay.
they would just be like, oh, it's a trick of the enemy, you know,
Come
and
on,
just
that part.
because
It's
there
a
are
demon. It's you a
and
demon.
and
It's
not
a
only
demon.
and sometimes, and you pointed out something saying that our pastors need therapy, and sometimes they themselves didn't know how to correctly associate what they was feeling, how they was feeling, or even know how to
Yes.
get the help that they needed. So
Mm-hmm.
when you are dealing with a congregation, small or large, and
Yes.
you may have a spouse, children, um, congregation, parishioners are not, doing what they supposed to do. They ain't tithing,
Right.
you got
Right.
bills piling up. It's like they don't have an outlet to go to somebody. Like, I just need somebody to talk to myself so I can get this off my chest. So when someone comes to them and say, hey, pastor, this is what I'm experiencing, it's not necessarily that they just automatically, they automatically just go to, well, are you praying? It's that they genuinely do not have the knowledge and the tools to handle your situation at that time. And
That's good. That's
sometimes
good, Sam.
we, as congregates, we have to be cognizant of that, because we look to our leaders in the church as sometimes the be all know all. And this is my
Yes.
leader. So my leader
Yes.
is supposed to know how to handle me and how to address my specific situation. And that's not always the case.
Come
So
on, talk about it. Mm-hmm.
so, and these, some pastor, I'm not going to associate all of them, they don't have
Right.
the resources to outsource any type of mental health professionals. They don't even know where to begin on creating a mental health ministry. They don't have the relationships with someone outside of the church. And just because someone is outside of the church does not mean that they are not a believer in Christ. That can just
Come
mean
on.
that
Yes.
they are not a tithing member of that particular congregation. So I want to make
Right.
that specifically clear when, like, oh, they're not in the church. Not necessarily. Let's dissect that a little bit further on what
Yes.
exactly that means. And, I said to you during the break, I wanted to break down a few statistics. And there was a study, a nationwide study done by the AACC, which is the American. Let me think about it. I should know this. I can't even think of it right now, but it's I can't even think about it, but it's the Christian Association, the American Association of Christian Counselors. There we go. I just had a brain freeze. But they did a study, and in that study, 66% of pastors identified that they don't talk, or they have no plans or have no desire to talk about mental health awareness or mental health
Wow.
problems from the pulpit.
Wow.
So just think about that. And that, from this study, they didn't break it down by demographic. This is just a generalized statistic. So we can
Okay.
assume that this statement or this statistic is even higher in communities of color.
Golly. Wow.
66%.
Wow.
That is a very high number.
It's huge. It's huge.
That is so huge. 25% of pastors from that same study identified of having mental health challenges themselves.
My God.
25%.
Mm,
60,
mm, mm.
68% of pastors identify that they have some type of mental health referral list. However, when researchers they interviewed congregants, not necessarily of those churches that was represented in the study, but just in the study, 28% of congregants said that they didn't even know such resources were available at their church.
Jeez.
So that's
Mm.
another issue as well. We may be creating these resources and these outlets for people to get help, but if we're not talking about it, how does the people know? In the word,
How
it
do they
says
know?
people will perish for a lack of knowledge. So we
That's
have
Bible.
to get the word out.
I'm sorry, Sins. I'm stuck.
I know. It like when I was in
Woo!
class and they were just running off the
God.
statistics, I'm like, this is mad. Like and like I
It is. It's
said,
bananas.
this is higher in communities of color because
Yeah.
we lack the resources. One of those resources is money. Many of the
Yeah.
congregants in churches of color, they don't have the insurance to even
Proper
go
insurance.
to
Yeah.
a therapist.
Hmm.
So it's like
Hmm.
I don't even know what to do. So they turn to the church, but the church
Yeah.
has no clue on how to truly handle them. So we are not.
And I think another piece, based on what you just said, that very first statistic, the 66% who don't even have any plans of even dealing with mental health from the pulpit. Like that's huge, right?
Mhm.
And I think connected to that is we need to start giving our congregations permission to have this conversation.
Absolutely.
We need to start giving them permission to seek out the mental health assistance that they need. We need to start giving them permission if they need the medicine to then take the medicine. No different than your blood pressure medicine, no different than
Absolutely.
your
None at
arthritis
all.
medicine. If you need to take an anxiety pill, take it. If you need to take a mood shifter, take that mood shifter, sugar. If that's what it's going to take to make sure that you have the highest quality of life that you need to take. But we need to start giving them permission because so many of us, here I go, are stuck in religion and not relationship. So many of us are stuck in these traditions, right, that make the word of God of non effect. Come on, don't let me go there. So many of us are stuck in these boxes
Mhm.
that tell us that we can't do a thing because now we've planted in their head that if I do this, then now I don't have faith. Come on here.
Yeah.
If I do this, then now I'm not trusting God to do it for me. If I do this, then my belief in God is waning. And we need to stop attaching Jesus, attaching faith, attaching trust and belief to mental health. It's two separate things. I
Yes.
believe God enough to understand that He's going to lead me to the one who can help me be happy and whole because He told me to think on things that were pure and things that were right and things that were good, right? That's what He told me to do. And if I find myself unable to think like that, I need help.
Yeah.
Right. And so we need to start giving them permission to seek out the mental health and the self care that they need. And I
Mhm.
think, and you said it, addressing it from the pulpit is where it starts.
Absolutely. And that's why I am so thankful and so grateful to my senior pastor, Pastor Harvey F. Carey, Pastor Harvey Fitzgerald Carey. I sure did say your
Come on,
whole
Pastor
name,
Carey.
of Citadel of Faith Covenant Church on the west side of Detroit at 1419 West
You
Warren
better
Avenue.
plug your
I
church.
I love the fact that last year God placed it on His heart to start this series, which it was called "The Question Is," and it was basically where He would invite people that traditionally the church would shun out, or they would like shut them out or look down on because they didn't look the part or they didn't speak the part. And we had
Wow,
everyone
that's
from
powerful.
myself speaking about my mental health journey. We had a returning citizen that had spent 19 years in prison for a crime he did not commit, by the way.
Wow,
A
this is
black man is
powerful.
now, he is free and he is working in his ministry and in our church, and him and his
Come
wife are just
on.
a phenomenal ministry couple. We had a former adult entertainment worker. She was
Come
a
on.
stripper that worked on the west side of Detroit, and each one of these people was like,
Come
we
on
don't
here.
have people, we don't have pastors that are courageous enough to open up
Yes,
the dialogue, just to
that's
have
it.
these conversations with no
That's it.
judgment, with no side eye, but to just have genuine open conversations.
Come
So not
on.
only we can say God has helped me, but how now in our healed state we can further heal the church, the black church, so we can bring more in the door.
Girl, you better preach. Listen, and that's it. Listen, the courage that it takes. Come
Yeah.
on here. Because we talk so much about being Christ-like, but when it comes down to taking that from theory to application, people they back up, they balk,
Yeah.
they can't do it. I don't know if it's a fear, I don't know what it is, but listen, because Jesus was out here with these were the people he was out here with. What are we talking about here? So how can we be like Christ but alienate all of these groups of people? There's
Absolutely.
redemption. You're gonna tell me that God's redeeming blood don't flow to the prostitutes, his redeeming blood don't flow to those who are in prison, his redeeming blood don't flow to the drug addict. Come on here. His redeeming blood flows to them all. And so, what are we doing? What are we doing? His redeeming blood flows to those who have mental health issues. And maybe, perhaps, if we catch it in the early states, we won't have all of these mass shootings.
Mhm.
We won't have all of this foolishness. We won't have all of these babies committing suicide. We won't have all of these pastors stepping down and leaving their posts and getting off of the walls or getting engrossed in scandals and sexual scandals and foolishness because they were trying to get release or relief some other type of maybe just maybe if we began to deal with these issues, right?
Mhm.
Then we wouldn't see some of this other stuff going on, but we're too afraid to do it. Listen, this is why I am a proponent of faith without boundaries and church without walls. Come on out these walls, and maybe you can
Absolutely.
get a little freedom.
And the thing about that too is going back to culture and also protocol. We grew
Yeah.
up in churches where, you know, church became perfunctory. Church
Yes.
became a ritual. You get up on Sunday, you put on your best clothes and you go, and it's almost like a parade
Mhm.
or a fashion
Mhm.
show. Sometimes we have turned church into this pomp and circumstance type of situation where we
Yes.
lose the entire purpose of church. One, church is not the building, church is us. And we
Come on
have to
here.
get back to that. And in the word, he said, even when he came back after he had was resurrected from the dead, and he came back and spoke to his disciples, he wanted them to go out and be fishermen and to save all these souls. But
Mhm.
sometimes we think that that's a one size fit all type of um program or a one
Yeah.
size fit
Yeah.
all manual that you have to do. I can't go out and be a fisherman of men. And I'm going to use an example that my pastor used in a recent sermon that he said. Being
Okay. Okay.
fishermen of men, we can't use the same bait to catch all fish. The type of fish it's going to take to catch salmon, you can't use it to catch a catfish. You can't
Come
use
on
that
here.
type of and the type of bait that you use to catch catfish, you can't use it for a bass or a red snapper or whatever type of
Come
fish
on here,
you are
Pastor
trying
Carey.
you are trying to fish. You have to learn that particular fish so you can use the correct bait so you can go out and you can catch it. So we can come up in some of these situations and some of these environments coming from the old school, and not saying that old school is bad. I'm not bashing that one bit.
Not at all. Not at
However,
all. Because our foundations made us who we are, but we have to progress.
some people, that's not going to reach them. You can't be
Yeah.
turning
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody away at the door because they skirt may be a little bit too short, or they may smell
Yes.
a little bit like weed or a little bit like
Come
alcohol.
on.
It's okay because we supposed to be fishermen, and we gonna have to go out there, and we may
Come
have to take
on.
off the veil, and we gonna have to come out of the robe and out of the choir stand sometime to be all like, you know what? And we gonna have, I might not have to say, hi, my name is Dr. Mary Ann Broner. I'm gonna have to say, what up though?
And
How
listen,
you doing? And that's just
and is the
meeting them
church
where they
not the
are.
hospital? Is the church not the hospital anyway? So why you mad when they come there sick? Come on here. Is it not the hospital? They came
Exactly.
sick. They came to the right place. Come on here.
Exactly.
Listen, y'all get me and my sand stirred up. We talk about this all night. Come on here. Listen, we'll talk now. Y'all get us going. Listen, I want you to tell them because I know you guys are doing some amazing things over there. Pastor Carey has tasked you with some things. And I was like, Pastor Carey, if you watch this, I want you to know, listen, I am all for it. She came like, Sands, I don't know about, yep, you can do it. You gonna do it. You will do it. You shall do it. It is already done. And so I'm very, very proud of you, Sands. I'm proud. I am so, so, so proud of you. I'm so, oh my God, amazed at where God is taking you. Go ahead and tell them about this new program that you guys are spearheading over there at Citadel of Faith. And come on here. Come on. You got to toot it. Come on. Go on and put your peacock feathers on. Go and toot that thing, Dr. Broner.
Absolutely. Well, right now we are currently developing a mental health ministry at my church, Citadel of Faith, and it's going to consist of a licensed family and marriage therapist. She is also a licensed life coach. It's going to be me, a certified behavioral and mental health coach. We're going to have other lay counselors that is going to provide not just only our congregation, but the community in which our church is in. And we're going to be providing behavioral,
Fantastic.
emotional, and mental health services to our congregation and our community. And what I am so thankful for is that I have a pastor that has encouraged me and has charged me with this task. And I told him right off the back, I said, no, sir, nope, not me. Like,
You so hard headed.
you need to go ahead and ask the person that actually has the degrees and the licensures. I just have a little certification, not me. And he said, you need to learn to stop telling God no. God told me
Boom.
that this is you. This is your time. This is your season. I said, well, all right, Lord. I don't know what I'm doing. But with your help, we gonna get it done. And another thing that I'm working on in conjunction with that, I'm busy, is I am working on my mental health ministry certification. So basically what that means
Come
is
on, booked
on
and
top
busy.
of being a certified coach, I will be certified to travel to different churches, not just in my community, but across the nation to help you create, develop, and establish your own mental health ministries within your congregation. So
You better come on here booked and busy. You better come on here across the nation. Ah, that's my fans. If anybody was wondering, that's my fans. You ain't got no claim to her. She belongs to me. Listen, I think this is phenomenal. phenomenal. I applaud you. I applaud Citadel. I applaud Pastor Carey. Listen, we need to set this thing afire and let the blaze burn across the world. It needs to be a worldwide initiative because we need this. We listen. I'm a certified life coach. I work with children. I work with adults. I work with teenagers. You will be surprised. You will
Hmm.
just be surprised when you get that trust factor and you begin to talk and you can get them you sit there and you like, my God,
Yeah,
and things that come up and out that have been sitting in them for years and years and years and years. And then sometimes it may even be a new thing that has affected them so in such a deep way that they have no idea how they got so confounded.
hmm,
And all they need is the right person, the right formula, right? The right track. So, whatever it is, whether it's a life coach you need, whether it's a therapist you need, whether it's a psychiatrist you need, whether it's a I don't care what it is you need, get what you need. Listen, if your religious community is not giving you permission, we over here at Breaking Up with Bondage is giving we are giving you permission. Break up with your bondage. Break up with the negative stigma of mental health. Break up with the understanding that this is just who you are and it's who you have to remain. No. No, 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 no. There is better for you. There is light at the end of the tunnel. There is something more because God is catapulting you into your divine destiny. And you have to understand how to get there. And you have to be your whole self, your healed self, your delivered self to get there. And yes, with God by your side and the wisdom to understand how to get the mental health help that you need, baby, there is no stopping you. And so we just came to stop by to tell you, listen, get what you need. I am going to make sure that all of Dr. Broner's information is in the show notes on this episode. I'm going to put her IG up there. I'm going to make sure that all of the information that you need, even for Citadel, I'm going to put all that information up there too. Maybe you want to go stop by Citadel and get the help that
absolutely.
you need. Listen, we're going to make sure it's up there so that you can have it. Do not wait or waste another day sitting in shame and guilt and depression and anxiety or sadness.
Yeah.
There is help for you. There is help for you. And we love you and we want to see you at your best. So, whatever you need and however you can be of assistance, listen, if you don't know what to do, I want you to email me at podcast@smoniquenelson.com and I will help you with resources. I will direct you in the best way that I can. We will get you the help that you need. Listen, therapy is virtual now. You don't even got to leave your house. Okay? You don't even got to leave your house. They
I
are
have never
making,
met my therapist in person. We every
see,
week
come
telehealth.
on. Come on. They are making it so available. All you have to do is take the half a step to reach out. And so we're going
Hmm.
to make sure that you have everything that you need. So if you're struggling and you're listening to this, first of all, I am praying for you. Come on here. I am praying for everyone that is
Yes.
struggling with the spirits of depression, the spirits of anger, the spirits of sadness. First of all, we rebuke those spirits in the name of Jesus and we say they have no place.
That's
They
right.
cannot stay. They don't. And if you're struggling and you don't know where to go and you don't know who to talk to, email me immediately. Podcast at smoniquenelson.com. That's smoniquenelson.com. And I will connect you wherever you need to be connected. If it's Dr. Broner, if it's Citadel, if it's somewhere else, if you're in a different state, listen, we know how to find the mental health community in that state, and we
Yes.
will connect you to what you need. Don't waste another day living in darkness when there is light for you. Okay, listen. Dr. Broner, whew, Lord, I should have known getting you on here was going to get me all worked up. This has been amazing. This has been absolutely absolutely amazing. But you can't go yet. There's still one last thing
Okay.
on the agenda. Okay.
Okay.
Baby, we have to have the breakup breakdown.
Okay.
I know you're new to the show. It's your first time being here. Let me explain to you what the breakup breakdown is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The breakup breakdown is where we decide each week what we breaking up with. And we break that thing on down, okay? Because listen, we do not have to be bothered with the foolishness and the shandangeries of the world, okay? We decide what we want to deal with, okay? And so every week we pick a thing or two and we say we are breaking up with it. All of these toxic things that seek to hold us down. We don't have to be bothered with the foolishness, okay? So, I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna tell you what I'm breaking up this week.
Okay.
Listen here. Now I know y'all know I'm a Detroit girl. I'm a city girl to my heart.
You
Listen,
better
East
not be
Side
taking
till I
mine.
die. Come on here, Lenox Ave all day, Detroit, Michigan. I'm gonna always be a D girl, East Side writer. However, right now I am not in Detroit. I am not even in the North. I am down south. And let me tell y'all something. I am breaking up with these bats that y'all want to call mosquitoes down here. Let me tell you something. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Ain't nobody doing this, okay? When you got this bat coming at your face, okay, and you running for your life, and the bat is chasing you, and you want to tell me it's a mosquito? No, 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 no. It got the wingspan of an eagle. And you think I'm gonna stick around for this thing to catch me? Listen, I got the Ring camera. Please explain to me why these little bats making my camera go off like somebody ringing my doorbell. The mosquitoes ringing my doorbell every day. You want to know why they can ring the doorbell? Because they big as bats. I, Shaquenia Monique, has decided I don't gotta live like this. No, ma'am, no, sir. I am breaking up with these bats that y'all have lied to me and said are just mosquitoes. They are not. They're bats. They're full blown birds, and I will not live under said conditions. No, ma'am, and no, sir. Sans,
Where's
what you
the
breaking up
mosquito?
with?
Where's the mosquito truck?
Girl, I don't even know what that is. What's a mosquito truck?
Oh,
There ain't no
I'm
mosquito
not
truck
even in
coming
the
to get
South
these
that I know
bats.
about the mosquito truck. So
There
basically,
ain't no truck coming to get these bats.
no, they don't. But they don't just come and collect it. But it's like a truck that comes to spray like I don't want to say a pesticide, but it's almost like the ortho guys just running through the neighborhood and it sprays and it's supposed to kill the mosquitoes.
I ain't seen no truck since
I
I've been
learned
here, and
about
I've
that
been
when
here
I
quite
went with
some
my
time.
friend to Gaston, Alabama years ago. I was like, what is this?
Woo! Maybe the COVID didn't stop the truck. I don't know, but let me
Ah,
tell you, ain't been no
baby.
truck. These bats is coming after me, and I'm done. I'm tired of them now. Okay, I'm tired. And they don't just bite you once. You walk out the door, you get in the car, you look down, you got 11 bites on one ankle. 11. You hear me? On one ankle. This is God ain't in this. Jesus did not die for me to get bit 11 times by one bat mosquito. That ain't what he went to the cross for. No, ma'am. Mm-mm. What you breaking up with, saying?
As a Midwestern girl, as a
Mm-hmm.
little black girl from the east side of Detroit, I've been
Come on here.
in the Motor
Right.
City my entire life. All of my
Yes, ma'am.
anniversary of my 22nd birthday.
A whole lot of anniversary.
But one thing I have not gotten used to is Michigan weather. It was 90 degrees on Sunday. It was 80 something yesterday, and it is 50 degrees and raining today.
Oh,
I am so over pure Michigan weather. We don't have no springtime like some of y'all do. Be like, ooh, it's 90 degrees. I'm outside. We can't even put up our winter coats because we don't
at
ever
all.
know. It's like
At
one
all.
hour it can be 90, and the next you need a whole raincoat, rain boots, jacket, and a scarf because it might snow. So
That
I'm
part.
breaking up with Michigan Midwestern weather.
Listen
I'm
here.
ready for some heat. I'm ready for some sun.
My fan said she breaking up with Michigan weather. Y'all know how it go. You go on and blink, and the weather has changed. Just go on and blink one good time, and you are in a whole nother season. Okay, listen. We get all the seasons, and we get them several times a month.
A
Okay,
day.
not a month. Okay, a day. Yes. So Sands is breaking up with Michigan weather. Y'all better take heed to these lists. We trying to give y'all some free game on what you need to break up with so you don't have no toxicity in your life. Y'all better write these things on down. Okay, it's bats down here that's disguising themselves as mosquitoes trying to get you. It's not a mosquito, it's a bat. It's a whole bat. I it's a bat. Okay. All right, now that we have all of that cleared away, Sans,
Mm-hmm.
this has been a phenomenal experience.
Yay.
I cannot tell you how happy I am that you are here. I've said it 52 times. The people probably already know at this point.
Thank you for inviting
I
me.
knew, listen, I knew that you would add value. I knew that your story is going to heal so many, and so many people need to hear it, and to have people walk in the liberty and the freedom of saying, I can take control of my mental health. Thank you so much for your transparency. Thank you so much for being willing to be on the show with your fans who drives you nuts. You do owe me a movie tonight. I don't hear you talking this mess about going somewhere. No, ma'am. You owe me a movie date, so get your little life together.
I gotta
Um,
cook.
but I, I'm saying, okay. But
It's
I
dinner
just want
time
to
over
thank
here.
you.
It's time to eat.
For me too. Thank you very much. And listen, I do like I'm telling you, like I done told a couple others, I reserve the right to call you on back here. I know that there's some other mental health things that come up later on in the year. I reserve the
Mhm.
right to call you on back. Please let Pastor Carey them know. I might call him on in here onto this thing. Come on here, Pastor Carey. Because maybe if
Absolutely.
we talk to a pastor who has made the leap and maybe ask him, how was it easy for you to make this here leap? So maybe
Mhm.
I'm now my wheels are turning. So maybe we need to do a whole nother show at some point because this is very, very big. It's very important. And we need to make it a topic on the mouths of everyone. So thank you so much for
Thank
being an
you.
esteemed guest on Breaking Up with Bondage, the podcast. Do you have any closing remarks for the peoples?
One is it is okay not to be okay, but it's
Yes,
not okay to stay there.
that's
Get
it.
the help that you need.
Hmm.
That's it.
I love it. Listen, you have been listening to Breaking Up with Bondage, the podcast with your host, Shaquinia Monique. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. Do the research. Again, if you would like me to help you, if you would like my friends, Dr. Mary Ann Broner, to help you, email me right now today at podcast at smoniquenelson.com, and we will do everything within our power to make sure that you begin your journey to strong and well mental health. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye, y'all.
You're listening to Breaking Up with Bondage, the podcast with Shaquinia Monique.